Hey, everybody. Linda Bean, Outreach Coordinator from the Kellyanne Dolan Memorial Fund. Thanks for joining us. Run and go grab your box of tissue because boy, do we have an inspirational story to tell you today. We know when we talk about our beloved teachers that it only takes one to make a difference in a life of a child. And couple that with the coolest, hippest dog named Cole, who's going to join us with his owner, Chris, a little bit later. So stay tuned.
I decided it was time to adopt a new canine best friend, and the very first dog that popped up on my local animal shelter's website was a beautiful white dangly-legged puppy that carried the description of special needs. It just so happened that the special need was being born deaf. Little did I know that in March of 2017, my life was forever changed when I met that 4.5-month-old puppy who carried the shelter name of Harry Potter. I have a nephew who was born hard of hearing as well, so I felt the match was made in heaven. While in the waiting area to meet this special little kitty pup, there was another family wanting to meet him. But one of them spoke words that will always stick with me. That he is broken. That he will never be a good dog just because he was born deaf. My heart sank hearing those words and thinking of my nephew, and those words unknowingly set forth upon a life mission. The waiting room door finally opened, and it was as if the stars and destiny had aligned. A new best friend had entered my life and stole my heart. Being an elementary music teacher to 600 students per year, I'm lucky enough to teach the entire school population. I couldn't wait to tell my classes all about the new addition to my world and how we'd be coming home in just about a week. I even did a school-wide vote on what to name him, and it was a unanimous choice after I told them the story of my favorite inspirational movie, Mr. Holland's Opus, which happens to be about a music teacher and his deaf son, Cole. The more I talked to my students about this puppy, and people's descriptions of him being broken, the more I realized that my students were learning something very, very special. Acceptance. They were opening up their hearts to the things in life that might be a little bit different. Cole instantly became a member of our school family, joining the students at school events, classroom appearances, and even holiday concerts. The students' eyes would light up and their hearts open every time he entered the building, which made it a really easy choice to begin in his training to become a therapy dog. In May of 2018, Cole passed his therapy certification and began the journey of the Team Cole project. Since then, he has volunteered over 500 hours at a local veterans home where he was named their official mascot by the 300 residents and staff. He regularly visits hospice patients ranging anywhere from 9 to 90 years old, and the best part, he works side by side with me every day at school. As the pandemic struck, we had to find creative ways of reaching our students and veterans because they rely on him. We hop into the Colemobile regularly and drive the neighborhoods of our school and community just to do our parts of uplifting others during such a challenging time. To think the way that people wouldn't give this little pup a chance just because he was born deaf and different. It's a fuel behind our mission of breaking the stereotypes of disabilities and differences. We will show the world that a disability is never an inability. It can actually become a superpower. Cole may be a deaf pit bull, but he's helping others hear his message.
I don't have any audio. I don't know if you guys have me.
Yeah, hi, Chris. Linda, we are having some audio difficulties with you. So I don't know when you'll come back. Chris, I'm gonna chat with you a little bit. Linda, if you want to try to figure out what's going on audio-wise. Chris, Cole the Deaf Dog is just an absolutely inspirational story. How do you actually manage him now? How do you communicate with him?
So when Cole was a puppy and we began our first initial training, American Sign Language can be very confusing for dogs because it's based on multiple hand movements, and a puppy's brain works differently than a human's. So we didn't assign true ASL. We actually we kind of modified each and every bit of it. And then as he got older and we did more and more and more of the work, then we started to utilize as much actual American Sign Language as we can. He's up to, I think the last time I counted, 29 different ASL commands that we use with him. A lot of them are working commands that kind of happen on the fly. But a lot of them are ones that my students, they start to learn, they become familiar with, and they actually utilize it within the classroom too. So it's been pretty amazing.
Can you throw us some examples of what Cole can do? Is there anything you can do within the parameters here?
Sure, let's see. Cool. Can you speak to Daddy? No, I have your cookie. What are you doing? Speak to me. You got to speak to me. You got to talk to me. Speak. Cole, speak to me. Yeah. Are you not going to do it? Are you being camera shy?
He's being camera shy.
Somebody's being very camera shy. Speak. Speak to me. Yes.
There we go.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. Being camera shy today? Oh my goodness.
What's the reaction been from the kids that see Cole, especially the ones that may also be deaf? What's that feel like? What do you see from them?
Cole, before Cole even came into school, I had him about a year before I got his therapy certification, a little over a year. I literally went to the SPCA and picked him up and brought him straight to school. My principal let me leave a little bit early with the contingency that I was going to come back and everybody gets to meet this little puppy. So when I brought him back in here, and I had been talking all week to my students about this deaf puppy that I met, and I'm going to adopt him and bring him as part of my family, all of a sudden they started like asking questions, and they started to open up in different kinds of ways that I had never seen as an educator. I have a very open classroom. I'm very open and transparent about my life and the things that I do. And when they started asking questions about Cole, and then they correlated Cole with my nephew, who is also hard of hearing, they just started opening up in like a whole different world. And it was like a beam of light came across my classroom, and it's been ever growing ever since. And it's been really, really amazing to see the way that students rely on him on so many different levels, especially during the pandemic. That was the most magical part. When we did the first drive-by visits, what we do is we hop in my truck that is fully wrapped by designer wraps, and we go out and we drive the neighborhoods of all my students. It takes about 3 hours. Cole sits in the passenger seat with his paws hanging out the window. And the kids sit out on their front porches if it's a nice day. They make posters, they make banners, they chalk their driveways. They do all these amazing things to show their support. But what it showed us is the way that the students rely on Cole as a symbol of hope, especially in a time like this, and that, you know, you can conquer all the odds and we can all work together. And it's just amazing to watch the interaction. We do morning broadcasts for my school's morning television station, and Cole's the co-host. And to see the students' excitement in the chat area on YouTube and the things that they say and they do during, you know, every time they get to just see Cole, it's pretty magical to witness.
Do you think that Cole understands the difference he's making? I know that sounds silly, but do you think he understands?
The reason I say yes is when we were in school full time, Cole kind of roams around my classroom and we walk the building as every opportunity that we get. But he always finds a way to find that particular student who he not jumps on physically, but he latches on to the concept that child's not having a good day. So he'll sit down with them. Sometimes he even sits on their lap the way that he's doing with me right now. And he just lays next to them or sits on them or just gives them that little bit of comfort. And it's almost like he knows what particular person it is that he's supposed to be with that day. It's amazing to witness. And I'm with him 24/7. I see him all the time, and I still get thrown back when I witness stuff that he does in person. It really is magical. and to see that it's like he knows that he's helping people that feel a little bit different, or to help people, conquer some of their own fears.
Well, I want to see if Linda is back now, if she has fixed her audio.
Can you guys hear me?
There you go. All right, Linda. Thanks for
Okay.
talking with me, Chris, but Linda's going to take it from here.
Hey,
Awesome.
sorry about the tech difficulties, but I was
It
able
happens.
to listen in. We often hear about, dogs really being the best kind of medicine. And I just kind of heard you talk about how Cole, even though he isn't able to hear, he's intuitive. He can kind of sense what is maybe going on with a child. And they intuitively know that, I think, that their love can actually heal. So they're the best medicine, right?
It's so true on so many levels. And it's not even just my students. It's when we go to the veterans homes, and if he sees someone in the community that the person's in a wheelchair, he has to be next to that person and visit that person. And there's a funny story behind that. The very first day we ever visited as a therapy dog was at the New Jersey Veterans Memorial Home. And he actually got his tail on his paw ran over by an electric wheelchair. And which most dogs would react, in a certain kind of way of fear, or even in a negative way. And Cole just kind of shook it off. And literally, I didn't have my hand on the leash because I was trying to tend to his foot. He actually got up and he escorted the person all the way down to their room. And this was the very first time he had ever done a visit and had been around somebody in a wheelchair. So I knew at that instant that there was something very, very special about what he does. He has certain residents there that he doesn't like to leave their side. When we visit hospice patients, it's like he knows that he is on a mission. And we have a particular hospice patient that we're with a lot now, who's only 9 years old. And you can't get Cole away from this young man.
Wow.
Well, he is attached to him. And to see the joy that Cole can bring to such a young child, or a 90-year-old that we visit, it's pretty amazing to see.
Amazing.
It really is.
It's like with whatever, if you're at a veterans center or you're at a hospice case, like you were mentioning, or a school, it's almost like he is able to sense what the needs and the boundaries are, and he just goes with it. Have you had an opportunity to visit? I know it's near and dear to your heart because of your nephew, but have you visited a school for the deaf?
We have visited a couple, and we regularly visit the deaf ed programs here in our school district. Every time there's a school event, like a Read Across America, they have us as guest readers. One particular school here in Vineland has the deaf ed program, and they actually use Cole on their morning announcements as well. They put pictures of him up. So he's a big inspiration to not even just deaf kids per se, or deaf adults, but it's anybody with special needs, or anybody not even with a special need. That sometimes kids or people in general just feel a little bit different. And we live in a world of such easy judgment with social media and chats in classrooms, and everything's so digitalized that sometimes people are afraid to open up, and they're afraid to show who they really are because they have such a fear of judgment.
Yeah.
And with Cole, it's been such a wonderful journey to teach about differences, and to teach about how you can overcome differences and celebrate people's differences amongst each other. And that's been the best part of all of this, is watching how my kids in my building are now ambassadors to those kids who feel a little bit different. They will go out of their way. We have a little girl who's a dwarf, and she is so loved. Cole is her puppy. And it's amazing because from day one, Cole takes her, he walks her off the bus down to the classroom. It's her puppy, and it's so good to see that she has that confidence to believe in herself, because she has something a little extra to lean on when those days happen that, maybe somebody wasn't so kind, or somebody wasn't so accepting, but it spreads to other kids as well, just kids in general. And, we hope that we can continue to to inspire those kids and adults in general and humans to just accept differences and to celebrate them, because a difference is what makes us all so special, and to tell it through the eyes of a dog. It's been really magical because people are listening, and we can talk about it as humans as we want, but sometimes it takes a specific example in front of them. And it's been amazing to see the way that people are changing their views by looking through the lens of his eyes rather than that of a human. And they put the correlation of the two together, which has been the really amazing part.
Well, and I like your use of language. You talk a lot about differences versus special needs. What we're learning more and more in the industry, from folks that have a special need diagnosis, they don't like that term special, because they feel as if it sets them apart, and it maybe is going to make it harder to be accepted, to make friends, to be included. And I was thinking kind of an analogy. I know you're a music teacher, but I was thinking, I remember as a child, like getting the big box of Crayola crayons. And, now it's gotten bigger and bigger over the years. I think it was 64 when I was a kid. I think it's up to 100. But wasn't the lesson or the teachable moment out of that each one is unique and beautiful in their own right, and they're all different. So I think that's, the kind of the message you're trying to impart in the work that you and Cole are doing.
Yeah, it's exactly it. It's everybody has their own inhibitions about themselves, each and every person in this world. And if you can break down your own emotional barriers and your own walls that you put around yourself, it's amazing how your heart can open up in so many different ways. And a lot of it is giving somebody the strength to do that, the strength to have that courage to put the walls down a little bit. What we've been able to witness and to see when we're doing a programs, whether we're doing assembly, we do tons and tons of assemblies in schools, and we travel all over the place with Cole. And to see visually, as I'm talking and I'm addressing 100 to 1,000 students at one time, there are instances in the program that you can physically see it upon their facial emotions. That wall comes down a little bit because some part of our journey, they can correlate their own life journey or something they've experienced, whether it's the discrimination of Cole's breed or the discrimination because he's deaf, whatever it may be. And it's like, it's amazing to sit and watch, to look into the audience while we're doing our programs and to see that moment when each person's wall just comes down for a minute and they accept it, which means they're accepting themselves at that point. And, when you accept yourself, you can accept others. So it's been unbelievable, to see it. And I think, like I said before, we're having so much success because it's going through the eyes of a dog.
Yes.
And who can't relate, and want to relate with such an amazing creature, and it's just been an amazing journey, and we're very blessed, and we're very, very lucky that we came across each other.
I was going to ask you, you've talked so much about what he has done, the impact that he's made for so many, whether it's a veteran, whether it's a child that has maybe a hearing impairment or not even a special need, but they just don't feel like they found their tribe that they fit in.
Right.
Tell me in a few words, what has he taught you? You are a teacher, so you're constantly, developing lesson plans for your students through the vehicle of music. But what have you learned about yourself, and what has Cole taught you?
This entire journey has completely flipped my entire mindset on not just being a teacher, but my mindset on life in general. I have a niece that passed away when she was 12 with complications from Down syndrome. I have my nephew who is deaf. So they've always had a very, very special place within my heart. And I've always tried to cater my teaching to kids like that. But when I started to see the opening up of children when it comes to this program and this particular dog, it was unbelievable the way that it changed my entire mindset about how I teach. Especially during this pandemic, music, I try to make sure that my students I'm reaching them in a social, emotional way.
Mhm.
And I can utilize music to do that. But by having Cole with me, it's taking that relationship to a whole different level with my students. But it's giving them some strength at a time that they most certainly need it. And it's just completely changed my mindset about the importance of making every kid feel special. Not that I didn't before, but it's just in a different way now. To make every kid's feelings matter. Every kid's smile matters. And during this program, I've just learned more and more about the importance of that and how we need more of that in the world. We kind of joke, and people at school call us like the canine Mr. Rogers team. And it's kind of true though, and I think we need more of that in the world, because feelings aren't talked about as much as they were when we were younger. And it's something that needs to happen more, and it needs to be broadcasted that we can celebrate differences and we can find our similarities. And there's the word debate kind of doesn't happen anymore. It's your way or it's my way. There's no middle ground. It's so easy. But I've found that this program is breaking through those barriers with differences, and they're not learning it for that moment. It's carrying with them for years to come. And some of the feedback that we get from schools that we visit, like if we was in school, a particular school still has the very first assembly we ever did. They still have our poster hanging in their vestibule, a giant banner that they had made of us. And to see that we can have an impact by telling a story through the eyes of a dog, an impact to that level it's pretty special. And we're really, really lucky that we're able to reach people in the way that it's taking down those barriers.
Yeah, I came across I was looking at some dog quotes, and it pretty much, I won't remember it verbatim, but it pretty much is, the only one in this entire earth that's going to love you more than yourself is,
Mm-hmm.
the love you get, the unconditional love that you get from a dog.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to sell yourself short, because I did happen to catch a video of you. You made it to the big time on Access Hollywood. Saw you being interviewed by Mario Lopez, and a special appearance by the R&B singer Neo. And he said it best. He said there were one or two teachers that made a difference, all the difference in the path that they took, and feeling valued. And when a lot of times maybe they didn't feel like anybody understood or got them, that one or two made the difference. And you guys are really a superpower team in making that impact. So gosh, it's been such a joy in having you both today, and keep on doing what you're doing. I mean, I love that you're inspired by your backstory in terms of being touched by, loss and differences in your family, but the footprint that you're making, not only in the lives of your students, but just from young to old, the fact that you're doing work with hospice patients and veterans, populations that are often, forgotten. And we know that level of social engagement and unconditional love is a lifeline. So super
really
appreciate you taking the time to, talk with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. I think it's nap time for our buddy, is it?
He's like, Dad, we usually go outside and play frisbee right around now, right? You're a crazy boy today.
Well, and keep us posted. We're following you, and when the world opens up and we get to have human contact again, we'd love to see in action.
Absolutely, we would love to.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Chris and Cole.
Thank you.
Have a good one.